Dairy farmers' stark warning about impact of green policies on American food supply. Climate initiatives push for plant-based food are fostering anti-AG sentiment. Fox News reports on WND. The fourth-generation dairy farmer fears that possible climate initiatives could threaten independent farmers and their ability to provide for the U.S. food supply. Several nations have imposed regulations on the agricultural industry, such as limits on nitrogen emissions, which have sparked backlash from farmers in those countries. Biden's administration also has indicated that it aims to push changes on this industry to tackle climate change. Americans are feeding into this lie that climate change is because of agriculture, and climate change is not going to get better until farmers and ranchers do better. Stephanie Nash, a fourth-generation dairy farmer, told Fox News. In 2020, EPA estimated that 11% of U.S. total greenhouse gas emissions came from agriculture sector, compared to 27% from transportation, 25% from energy, and 24% from industry. Well, maybe they should do something about industry and transportation instead of food. People need food to live on. Now, President Biden, in his first congressional address, floated paying farmers to grow cover crops, which are planted to cover the soil rather than for harvesting, to reduce carbon dioxide, improve soil health. It also encouraged the Department of Agriculture to use farm aid funding to incentivize carbon emission reduction on farms. And recently, Securities and Exchange Commission SEC ruling a new ESG proposal in March, which could require companies to report the environmental impact of its practices. And if that's enacted, American farmers and ranchers would be left vulnerable, as major food production corporations could look towards buying small farms or importing animal products to preserve their ESG rating. Nash fears the efforts to implement green policies across the globe will continue to kill off an already struggling farming industry that's faced with skyrocketing costs of labor, fuel, seed, and fertilizer. And she says that the likes of the institutions of World Economic Forum, WEF, of course, we're talking about Klaus Schwab and his gang, are scaring us with its prediction that by 2050 the global population will demand 70% more food than is consumed today, and advocates for an overhaul of food production to meet that supply. And she said, well, if you continue to kill off our food supply and our American farmers, we're not going to have enough food. The Inflation Reduction Act, introduced last week, would spend $369 billion on various climate change initiatives. The bill claims it would reduce carbon emissions by roughly 40% by the year 2030, primarily through investing in renewable energy products and practices. Now, also, the Canadian government proposed a 30% cut to nitrogen emissions from fertilizer by 2030. They also want to close down farms, just like the Dutch do and Ireland does. And Nash said her family moved their century-old dairy, their farm, from California to Tennessee in 2015 due to the Golden State's restrictive agriculture policies limiting water usage. And fears the U.S. Will follow suit, implementing restrictive policies on livestock farmers already struggling to stay afloat amid increasing production costs and existing regulatory restrictions. So we'll see what happens with this. This is a food supply problem, obviously. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.